tonight the second round of our budget workshop for the 2023-2024 budget for City of Troy. Got a lot of work to do yet. Got a spreadsheet in front of you. Thank you all for your diligence over since the last workshop, looking over things, getting back to this, following up. I appreciate that. This is an important, the most important job that the aldermen have. This is priority one for elected official council member to get the city's budget in order. So we're going to focus on trying to go through this thing, make it look like the way we want it to look. Everyone needs to speak up as aldermen, make their voices heard, come to some conclusions, so that when we get to the meeting where there's a vote, everyone's in agreement. This is a workshop designed for the Board of Aldermen and the department heads to exchange ideas. I certainly appreciate the public's interest. Everyone who's here to witness, that's great. Please refrain from comments. Use this time as best, the best that we can to implement what the elected officials need to do. Any comments or any questions afterwards, I'll be glad to stick around and answer. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Linda. Kick off our second meeting.
All right, I'm just going to go over what you can read in front of you. There isn't really much change to anything since we didn't really make any decisions. The changes that were made to the budget worksheet, the budget request worksheet, are as follows, and you can follow along. Those are in red. David Lindsay told me to start this laptop request. I changed the 2024 Chevy Tahoes, the sewer van, and the 2023 Ford Escapes from outright purchases to lease purchases, and those amounts are reflected on the budget request sheet. I had a correction on the tremor unit number 20. Didn't realize that 445 needed to be added to that for the initial payment. I updated the police budget to include a line item for double time wages. That was new last year, and it wasn't in the budget spreadsheet. I removed number 19, laserfish additional user request. That was my request, and I removed that. And I made no changes to the capital projects worksheet. So, per Alderman Junior's request at our last meeting, below that, what I just said is a chart showing what it would cost to go from the 4 steps we talked about last time to 5 steps for all employees. And that's really all I have to say.
Isn't that the city administrator? I asked.
You told me you were going to call. And
I asked that night if we could just add.
Oh, okay. Well, I apologize. I did go ahead. I didn't put it on the list, but I did make up a spreadsheet for that I can share with you. Yes, ma'am.
We don't have the actual pricing for the cars that I called today, over or something, so, because they were 43 to 45. When I did my numbers of 45,000, my numbers came up to, adding the equipment per car, came up to $164,064. That comes up to $41,016 per payment for all 3 cars, and the
did you include interest for these?
No, I don't know, that was,
The way I've got it here is based on,
I didn't know if we actually reached out to and got a number yet. Either that always takes a minute. Okay, that was my question.
yeah, I took the numbers I had and I sent them to
Oh,
bank and got a quotation. It's just a budget number, but yes. And rates are a little bit higher than what I can see.
Not a rate, you see, 7%, 8%.
For stadium.
No, he's not. He's, for health reasons, he won't be here.
I was gonna ask him about his comprehensive plan. You see kind of what kind of shape we're actually in. $45,000 expense, we got, plans to split it into a 2-year deal, split at 22.5.
We did reach out to Boonslick, they were willing to cut that and split it over 2 fiscal years, so that would put it at 22.5, 2
Right.
separate payments. So
Right.
that was,
Well, what kind of shape is the plan in now in comparison to what, it's a 2-year project? I'm just wondering if we can't put it off another year.
we're drastically out of date. The problems we're running into, B and Z, is so many of the new types of businesses that are coming in, we don't have zoning rules or any way to manage them. For instance, we just had one coming in and inquiring about a cannabis consumption location. We have nothing addressing anything like this in our P and Z. And these are all new types of businesses that are coming in that we really need to figure out how they fit within our zoning and where they can and can't be allowed. Everything from tiny homes to new types of manufacturing materials that are going to be allowed in specific districts. We are way behind the times. We drastically need to get our zoning regulations updated.
How are you handling those requests other than cannabis? How are you handling the small home situation now?
We don't have rules, so we try to seek guidance from like the building code and regulate it under the building code. But as of now, we don't have rules preventing things. So you're going to wind up with things being allowed simply because there's not a rule already in place governing it.
Tough for that, yeah.
Yeah, it puts us in a bad situation because when things come up that everybody go, holy crap, we want this not in this area. If we don't have a rule in the book, we can't stop it.
How old's the plan we have?
I'm not sure off the top of my head. I know it's 10 plus years.
So the zoning map and those ordinances is really separate than the comprehensive plans.
Yes. Yes. So
They're two different things, but they're agreeing to do them all at one time because of cost of understanding.
yeah, they kind of work lockstep. So you build a comprehensive plan, which is essentially an outward-looking plan for the city, and then you develop planning and zoning rules to how you achieve that comprehensive plan.
The only other thing, if I'm correct in following you here, they could modify an ordinance.
Certainly.
If we saw a problem coming, you could take an individual ordinance, within the code and modify it if you wanted to eliminate a certain problem. That, instead of doing the whole thing, we do it piecemeal, basically. That the problem.
Piecemeal is good for a time period.
2000.
Right.
I'm just saying, if you're looking for a way out,
Right.
there are options, they're not the best. And the comp plan was 2012, that's the last time it was done. I can show you a copy of it, some things that didn't follow all, some things haven't. And what happens a lot of times is you do a comprehensive study, and it's valid today over the next couple of years, but as the growth changes and moves in different directions, it may not fit the way the city developed, you know.
The point of the comprehensive plan is to allow the continued growth for the city. So it takes a forward-looking plan and says, okay, we need to dedicate these areas to commercial because we'd like to see commercial developing. That way you don't wind up with residential landlocking your potential growth areas. So it'll set up things like, okay, we know if we grow this, we're gonna need to have sewer accesses in this area. And it starts trying to put, when we add infrastructure, account for future growth in areas that we're anticipating. So it's trying to take what we're doing now and make sure we're planning and not having to backtrack down the road.
Well, if your plan is that old and we have all these new things coming, then I would commend you for what you've been doing and trying to make it work. And again, piecemeal is not something that's lasting at all.
No.
But we're 2 years out on getting answer or guidelines, correct? Well, the whole thing is, in 2022, we had a 550,000 deficit, 23 is 763. This year, with everything that's proposed, we're at 1.2 deficit. That's not going to work long term. And so the next question is, what are you going to do? We have a progressive historical trend going upwards. At what point are you going to ask the taxpayers to help out? And what are they going to say? The easiest thing for me to do tonight is to prove everything. That's not going to happen. We have to get serious. We expect our taxpayers to live within their means, and so we're on the same boat. The Apple tablets for admin.
That's for us.
Excuse me?
That's for us. To, make it pretty cost.
Well, I understand long-term it could be a cost savings. But printing doesn't cost us $7,200 a year, I would think. Is that correct?
I would say it probably comes pretty close by the time we pay them to assemble those books, make the copies, and put them all in there.
That was a good question. Figuring out what's in it.
And I think, I know Alderman Jones had discussed the Apple tablets.
I don't know what the total cost of paper is or anything like that, so.
But I would assume you spend hours a month minimally, let
Yeah, as far
alone
as
the department that also, we pay them and they take time from the streets to bring it to us. That's on top of that.
So if we're putting this out as a cost savings item, then what has been cut then from the other budget for admin to show the savings?
I would say nothing. I
We
mean,
don't have
not at this juncture.
Just the leases have changed, and purchase the leases is the only thing that's really changed.
No, we're talking
We're
about,
talking about computers.
we're talking about the time group spends. Making all the copies, assembling all the books. If we go to these laptops, how much are we gonna save? And is it gonna come out of, is it gonna reduce the general revenue expenditure?
Well, a small $7,200, you're gonna need more than that to cut that $740,000 deficit. You need to start looking at bigger expense items to cut.
Every little thing helps.
Oh, I know, but
So,
I'm talking, you wanna make, you know, it's 1,000 or 1,214 here. You need to look at the 80, the 70, the 195, you know, the 25.
95 is not general fund.
No, but it still adds up at the bottom line.
Yeah, but we need to look at the general fund, because that's where the big overlap is.
General fund is where we show the deficit.
The comprehensive plan is needed for our community and for the growth. So I would propose that we take that out of the ARPA funds, because those have to be earmarked anyway by 2026, which would meet those 2-year requirements.
What we have to use for ARPA funds in the
With
grid,
bigger dollars.
the grid on the sewer system.
Plus, Chief Taylor hasn't used all his ARPA funds.
Is there earmarked?
It doesn't matter, we need to look at some of these big purchase items.
And is there earmarked and they've already been given to them and approved?
So we can do that, approve some cars.
I'm sorry?
So how do we pay for the new cars then?
He has those earmarked already through
We
there.
were approved last year with
Yeah.
the ARPA money to get 3 cars last year, out of the ARPA money, which we did. And we got cars in our budget. Then after January, we were supposed to order the next 3 under ARPA, which couldn't get them. They couldn't give me a price yet. So we can't order them until I get a price. And once we get the price on the ARPA cars, I would sit down with the mayor, I put an article in the paper for 10 days, send out to 3 dealerships,
I understand
wait for
that.
bids to come back.
So you ordered 3, you're gonna do 3 more plus 3 here? That's 9 cars.
Yes.
Okay.
You're right. 3 of them came from the ARPA funds last year, 3 will come from this year, and then the other 3 is what you're referring to, that
Right.
come out of general fund.
Right.
And the reason we're doing that is, we don't about, I think I had like 6,000 in my repair fund right now, 45,000. Because some of our charges have so high miles on them, and it's costing us a lot of money to keep these guys going. And our goal is to have 12 Tahoes, and then we have 2 Rangers that are in really good shape, the K9 cars. And then Lieutenant Walker's Charger will be the only Charger complete, it's like brand new. It's gonna really cut that 45,000 out. And so 6 of those cars came from when they're all done, said 6 of the cars coming from the law. Which saved our community $500,000. So we not only got the cars, but we got a whole new radio system, 20 car radios. Once the digital system, we got 35 handheld radios. And now we want to have that spot downtown. And had guys in Walston the other day talking back here on the wall. Talking to guys in Milwaukee. I was in Ripson the other night, and I got back to my walkie in my truck, going the opposite back here. So the radio system, we don't have dead spots anymore. We have a dead spot, we get people hurt.
Well, so how do we whittle this down? How do we do that?
We got a $195,000 deficit in the general fund, and then, everything else adds up to that 740, but just the general fund, $195,000.
I didn't follow that.
I can follow that.
At the bottom, it breaks it down to how we get to that $740,000. So if you're looking to cut the general fund, we need to cut $195,000 out of that.
Well, that's not good, right?
And then we need, if you want to get down, to 0 out of that 740, it all totals up. This is, the street fund is in a deficit, water, sewer.
The only fund that has a deficit is general. So 195
Water does, but
would be helpful. So what do we work on?
so what is included in the $766,000 deficit?
That's just operating expense with no budget request, and the only thing that includes was the forced step raise that we talked about last time.
Which is like 220,000.
The 4 step is in the 766. Okay.
That still leaves 500,000, that's basic salaries and that include the 10% raises to all the other departments? What about the 2.5% that Alderman Thunder talked about?
That's not it.
That's, no, I think that's not,
Okay,
right now it's just standard for
okay, okay, got it.
So we can't cut anything.
How big of a hurt is it if we delay any of the big ticket purchases? Till we see what our revenue stream is gonna be. So you look mid-year, mid-year, you know, find out your revenue stream is better.
Here's how we were doing this, was from May 17th on the sales tax and everything was up. If you wanted to go, look at that. This is how we're, this is from our last meeting, how we were doing.
Do we know what we brought in,
Sales
that,
tax.
marijuana tax?
I did not, we don't know, we did not, I did not make any for marijuana.
We don't know if you
I mean, do we have any kind of idea yet, has anything came in? Is that reported to you quarterly, or?
It would be, I believe it's gonna be monthly once it starts coming in. And I think the first payment will be in December because they'll start assessing it in October.
There's a lawsuit presently.
Well, that's the two, I think there's something.
Yeah, there is a big lawsuit because against
So,
county, against, because the state's taxing you, the county's taxing you, and municipalities are taxing you, so there's a lawsuit that says, I don't know how it all worded, but there's a lawsuit going on it, so that may be something we don't benefit from. But as far as the police department goes, I don't see where we've done anything on that. I mean, we got rolling gun bans going through Trojan Lakes. If you think stuff ain't coming here, you don't see it yet in your neighborhood, you will eventually. It's coming. So wherever you guys think you want to go in the police department, just remember that might be your neighborhood. Next year, you got two cars running out there shooting each other.
Understood,
And
understood.
these men put their life out there every day.
Hey, I'm not saying that we don't appreciate everything we do.
The lease program on the new cars only makes sense. Guy farms our property, farms 7,000 acres a year. He gets a new combine every year because it cuts his costs down. He showed me on paper how much it saves him by not having the breakdown cost, the repair cost.
I understand that, but somehow we gotta figure out.
I agree.
So you're proposing to add a city administrator to the budget? Is that correct?
It should at least be on there for us to vote on, I think so.
I don't see how a city administrator in this meeting would have changed anything. And yet you got $154,000. What did he add? What did he bring to the table to offset that expense?
I don't know, we haven't had one in 15 years, you know? And just keep on going every year, we can't afford it, well, we'll never grow. With that mindset, we'll never grow. We're not growing.
I don't see the benefit for a city administrator. If you
I
could
do.
point that to
Somebody
me.
with experience to run the city. Cherry Street is a prime example why we need a city administrator and a city engineer. You can't see that, and you don't drive that out. We had, we need a city administrator and an engineer.
Well, if you could point out the benefit for a city administrator, I would certainly.
Point out the benefit against,
Excuse me?
point out the benefit against, just the cost. We don't know what one we can do to Troy, we don't ever try. We can't go every year, no, we can't afford one.
Well, then tell me how we're gonna fund it.
How are we gonna fund everything else on here?
Well, it's a deficit. So we're going backwards. That's what a deficit means.
Well, since I've been here, And I've got budgets from 2018, we've gone forward. We've not gone backwards. I got numbers in black and white to show you.
Okay, so we just need to prepare our numbers, because I have 550 for 22, 763 for 23, and this year, with everything added, we're at 1.2.
So if we keep this right here, that means we gotta go to the bank and borrow $1.2 million from Sarah bills.
That's not how it works.
No,
That's not how
no,
it's been.
we're gonna have to ask the taxpayer at some point to change funding for general revenue.
But the balance at the end of the year has never gone down.
Well,
It's always
look at your
increased.
spreadsheet, it went down in the budget right here. Started out at 5.7, you're down to 4.9.
What are we expected to be after the income?
Oh, the beginning number. The very first number, the first column. That's projected.
Okay, but what would be our shortfall?
Right now, the shortfall we expected was, and I haven't written last year's budget with me, but it was around 600,000 or 700,000. And right now, it would be around 40,000. Due to many factors.
So we just
Increase in sales tax, interest, building permits, property taxes.
Offset
We're
that.
all budgeted.
So even though we were looking at a deficit of 540,000, we're only looking at a deficit of 40,000.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying.
Okay,
Yeah.
Because
that's
everything
good.
goes up, I mean, the building permits or building.
Well, that's good.
Reports,
Yeah.
budgeted amount, fines and forfeiture, income is 19. I mean, it's all right here, the cemetery income is slightly ahead of the budget amount, water revenues are on budget, water connections are 3 times the budgeted amount, sewer revenue are slightly less than budgeted amount, sewer connections are 54 months.
That's what we know.
Right.
That is actual what we know today. We're trying to do this planning for a future that we do not know.
So then, where we started, have you added in, like because I would think that we would take in that 500,000 because that's guaranteed to come again, because those are businesses and.
I based budgeting on trend, yes.
So the estimated revenues that you've got in here include those expected increases, correct?
Yeah, well, as best I can. I mean,
Right.
we decided sales tax, we budgeted sales tax for, this past month, it's pretty much the same as it was. The deposit we'll get tomorrow is almost the same as this time. Well, and then you're a little less than a 5% increase, which is great. I think what did we budget, 2.5%? So we did go ahead of what we budgeted, but not by that.
Do you know the year prior what we ended with their actual deficit?
I don't have that, I can look it up. I haven't done that.
This past year, you put on a flat year before, was 2%.
The current year. That was a little long. Well, I've said this before and I'll say it again. This is based on conservative revenues and what's the opposite of conservative?
Optimistic.
Possible expenses. This was what happens if you get exactly what you thought you were gonna have coming in, you spend exactly what you think you got. That's, luckily that doesn't always happen, but like I said, we did end up with that this year. I mean, it wasn't as big as what we thought, but we had some great revenues that helped, but we also had some expenses that weren't expected.
Insurance premium is a huge one.
That's a big savings, and that may not happen again this year.
You have,
We will know that in January, or in December, for health insurance.
you have to budget a big enough number to cover those premiums. So if you get fortunate and they don't come in as high as what you expect, then that is a saving. But if you don't budget enough,
Right,
there's
exactly,
no way to make up for it in December.
right,
And
exactly.
that's the case all the way through. When you budget your revenues flat, that gives you a baseline of what to work on.
Right, which is what we're doing.
Sales tax is up year over year, it has been, but it's up at a declining rate. 3 years ago, we were looking at 9.5%, 10% year over year increase.
Because-
continues. Yeah, for the fiscal year. That trend continues. You have to assume it might for a while.
Yeah.
Over the long term, 2.5 to 3% growth is outstanding. If the economy's good, that's what you gotta figure on. You don't, very seldom see above 5% level. So we've been above that for some time. So anytime you budget expenditures to exceed what your expected revenue is, your expanded native forms.
I just wanted to add something that I wanted to put on it about the changes, since May 17th. On number 6, that she updated the budget to include line item for double time wages. We're just not getting double time for any traffic grant. I mean, that money's coming back. If the program the state's done, we get more law enforcement to do more of these grants. And then money, we pay it out, but we get it back. It's not on a real regular basis, but every so many months, that money comes back into the state.
So it's awesome.
That helps.
You were talking about pushing back the bigger, items. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that, and they've done it before, can you?
Well, for instance, instead of getting 3 uniform escapes, can you live with maybe 1 and then do 2 later on, like in January? When we kind of get a feel for what our revenue is gonna be, what's it look like? Same with the police cars, I understand you're gonna have 6, and you're going 3 more, but could we delay, maybe do a staggered purchase? What would be the difference? We'd have to do a cost benefit.
The only problem.
Because you're spending a lot on maintenance.
Yeah, the problem that we ran into with that in the past is when we haven't got cars, when we were expecting it to get cars, it wasn't even the following next year that cars that hold the floorboards, cars are pretty much out of service a lot of the time. And they're unsafe actually to drive, but guys that drove them. The other problem that we run into is that trying to send our vehicles to city maintenance to try to keep up with as much as we can, if they can't do repairs. Then we take them to a dealership or we take them to
Well, they're
a body shop.
$100 now.
And
And that's our goal, trying to change it over to fleet. Because the city's always kept cars until you can't get any blood out of them anymore, and it just costs us. So once these cars get into the fleet, then put on a truck chassis, they'll last longer than the top than the Chargers, and even better than the Chevy did. That's our goal is to knock out so much of that money in repairs. And this is an experiment we're doing now with the titles that we have. We can probably get about 70,000 out of it, then we can get them to start moving on, so they don't start costing us. Once that, warranty's up, then you start moving on. Which a lot of cities, that's the practice we really, that's gonna cost, gonna save you money.
That's why the state does it.
They do it on their Chargers and their Tahoes, or not the Tahoes, but some of the Ford, they were doing about 55,000. But that's a little soon for the Tahoes, because they're on that truck chassis. I think state probably should change their policy too, they're gonna hold up a lot better.
they're trading those in now at $80,000
could check if it's gone up.
They pretty much do it across the board with their conservation and all their watercraft and everything. You can get online and look, 2-3-year-old boats, whatever. They've already been traded in because the cost keeps it down. Jeff Burkemper on that Skoda side installation, how pretty cool was that?
What? Sorry.
On the Skoda side installation, Wingate and Whitetail.
Oh, that's a feature.
Oh, that's, I mean, you can hold on. Good.
What is that?
So that's the emergency call-out system for Whitetail and Wingate, where the homes are flooded,
The pump goes down.
What item was that?
H, it's on last month.
That's sort of where you got a,
Correct. Still $200,000.
but you're gonna be in the good for sewer. Like 31,000, you can't transfer funds, sewer into the funds. A big,
Actually, you
okay.
could take general funds, so you just can't do that.
Right. So how do we pay for the 40,000? Yeah, the 40,000 overrun, but that's true.
Yeah, it comes up fund balance.
Okay. Right. So,
We could also, I'm sorry, and you discussed the Apple tablets, we could wait for that too, if you want to see how, I know it's not a significant number, but we could wait to see how the budget does, especially for something that small, to see if later on,
Second half. Maybe
It's-
take a look at it again. Sure.
or that may give us
and
time to
keep
look
track
at-
of your expenditures, how much you're spending on just as like separate cost account, so you can see what you're actually expending,
Yeah, how it's,
labor and materials.
we could certainly do that, and also we could maybe switch the schedule, for how we submit packet items. As Alderman Newton said, the police officers usually assist us with taking those out, but if it's easier for.
I'd be glad to just stop by when they're ready,
Okay,
so you don't have to type them all.
okay. We could work with things like that to,
You call
that's
me,
definitely
come.
flexible. Yeah.
I like DoorDash in the opposite direction.
Okay, so on another thing, so can maybe, like myself, I'm not talking for any other alderman, but myself, you could email me my packet,
Right,
and I can look at it digitally versus having an officer taking their time to bring a book.
okay,
So for me personally, I can,
can email it, okay,
you can email it to me to save the money, so
we
I
can do
don't
that.
need a notebook.
So what are these?
Because we get so much updates, we get so much updates when we get there,
Yeah,
so
things change. I think
things
that
change,
would
the
be
agenda
that.
changes multiple times. So, yeah, I mean, for me personally, I'm fine with it.
What's the cost of these Apple tablets each, because I can only buy mine. Yeah,
If you do the 7,200 divided by the 6 of us, they're 1,200 apiece.
that's not.
If you divide it by, they're not 1,200 though.
No,
They shouldn't be.
and I think
That's expensive. But I was gonna say, I thought that they had gone down to like 500 to 600 apiece.
Oh, no. The bigger ones are a lot more than that. Yeah.
I just priced one for my daughter, it was, and hers, yeah, it wasn't that much. Without the Wi-Fi. Yeah.
I can pull up our quote from Drew here to see.
We're gonna move, we have sewer line, we have, that's not how we have to trade.
What do you got? Is it an iPad?
Yours is right.
Yeah, mine's a small one.
Well, my iPad.
You just want to get one. So the suggestion of anybody purchasing their own, I don't think is a very good idea. If it's for city, just because if anything happens, which could be since it's the sunshine law, I don't know, but I would think that they could confiscate from you. And, yeah, so it'd be best if we're gonna do it, and if
It needs to be
if
across
not,
the
that's
board.
fine too.
So, would you use your personal one?
I did that for an example.
Okay. Understood.
But anything you do city business on is under sunshine.
Just like a,
I mean, the books are available to everybody anyway, so
Right,
it's not
the
really,
tax are-
it's not like it's not discussions or anything.
But we could definitely, I'm sorry,
To be
I can't BNC and onto my system right now, but I can get those numbers and, for the
I
single.
think they're like anywhere from 1,000 to 1,200.
I think that sounds roughly about where Drew put us for our quote. But I can also revisit that with him too, if there's, a difference in price and it's going down. But it's definitely something where you can be flexible.
Check and see
I
if
mean, there's an iPad Air that's iPad Pro, that's $7.99. iPad Airs, this is from actual Apple.com, is $5.99.
So that's an older version. So if you get into like the 6th generation, you're
Yeah.
talking 1,049.
Okay,
This is on Amazon, by the way, my favorite place.
Yeah.
So
Check.
prices could be varied.
What's your pay for yours, Lord? My wife just purchased one for $500.
I would think that we could get them less than $1,200 a piece.
and if it's okay, I could change those specs. I know we talked about a certain, the paper size for you all to see them.
Well, I would suggest if we are, in my opinion, if we're just gonna get the small ones like I personally have, I'd rather do that.
Okay.
Because
Stick with the.
Hard to
we're
see.
getting, at least some of us are getting older and
Hard to see.
it's hard to see. When you're up at the desktop, at the desk, and you're trying to look through things, you want a full screen,
Okay.
at least in my opinion. But we definitely can hold off and read.
Might get a lot of younger people getting watched next year.
That'll give us room to see where we are.
See what the cost benefit is.
Exactly.
I think it's more the benefit.
Well, I'm just gonna tell you, I never put anything down unless it's a need. I don't ask for all this stuff to hopefully get everything we need. What we can do, I asked Linda if this is allowable. Right now, as a few weeks ago, I still got right at 13,000, maybe just a little bit less in my uniforms and equipment for, to get us through this month. We're doing pretty good there. The ID card printer is 1,800. The body cam storage is 1,470. And switching from the .com to the .gov is an important thing because we had a lot of secure sites that these guys had gone to, and stuff we get from the state, from the feds, and that's a requirement. That's about right at $4,500 that I can, Linda, can I get those items out of my uniforms and equipment?
One thing would be considered as equipment, wouldn't it? Thing that's
Well, I
required by law.
think it's, that's why I told you, I think it's allowable.
Yeah, that's what you want to do.
She just have to switch it.
We need
Yeah.
to give you permission.
I mean, it would still be labeled 6650, which is my uniform equipment. But, like I said, we can make, we're doing good on uniform equipment budget right now, which is kind of amazing for the other thing we've been through the last couple of years. We've been utilizing a lot of old equipment we had. But, that's right at $4,500, we can say right there. But everything else on here, I can just tell you that, the accreditation we're trying to get is $2,000 a year for 3 years, is $6,000. That's something we have to get because if we get a lot of federal grants, you have to either be accredited or be in the process to be accredited.
There's several grants that we
Printer,
missed out on,
so,
but,
the printer.
because we're not president, we're in the process.
Okay.
You know, I explained to you about cars and what our goal
I
is.
truly understand.
The IT enclosure for our computer, that's what they have down in City Hall, but we really need it to be because a lot of lot of sensitive stuff on our servers, and it just can't have access to anybody getting into that.
Is that a separate room?
It's in a separate room, but you can't shut the door and lock it, because it has to have airflow in there. It's an IT room.
Okay.
So this enclosure,
Building a car.
this enclosure was locked, it's like they have down here in your IT room. Like I said, the printer, we can take out any one of the equipment, if I can, take that out. And wanting to switch from the person, that's a very important thing, because if something goes down in the city and the phone line's down, the person that law enforcement, fire, and ambulance have first priority over any other phone, which is a very important thing. And I talked to Jeff and that, and about the past, all these radios that we are walking and car radios we have now, they can have a couple channels removed out of it, and the city can utilize those for the street department. Because my biggest fear, if we have a tornado, something comes through the city, they're not gonna have phone service. They're not gonna have, there's gonna be a lot of problems, but these radios, they're 6-watt walkie radios are 50, I think they do good for you guys, we utilize them, if that's what you want to do, you can do that. Because we wouldn't get much more on the market on Purple Wave, I'm sure, because everybody has to go, digital.
So the way I read it, Linda, is if nothing changes and the net fund balance is what you projected, then our projected year fund balance would be reduced by that amount.
We could add this.
Which one?
To this. General fund,
That is on, the budget requests aren't on.
Oh, okay.
so that's at 100, $95 to that. And if you have the city administrator, that's $154.
City administrator, you can divide that by the other funds, just like that.
Do what?
You can divide the cost of city administrator.
Throughout the whole thing, yeah, so prorated. So the general fund is the whole year.
How much money? Time and money.
So what do we do with this?
So for discussion.
I wasn't part of the salary increases, but I understand everyone got a well-deserved raise. Dave Lindsay seemed to indicate last meeting that he was reasonably happy with step 4. Anticipate another $104,000 to go over step 5. Still looking at it, maybe 2.
You figure half the time,
It says on.
73.
yeah, you're 195.
Linda, who was animal control considered on this?
It's just a portion that we just allocate animal control, it's not necessarily a particular person. Is that what you guys do?
Well, so on the 5 steps, it has for $11,835. So I'm just wondering where that amount of money is going out of there.
When I add up all the salaries and then I allocate it to the correct department, so that might be like a portion of works for
Okay.
somebody else.
Got it, okay,
It is like one person.
okay.
That's why, I mean, you look at inspection and it looks so low, that's because Dave and his people are struggling.
Okay. I assume we didn't have an animal control.
No, we don't have full-time now.
Yeah, that's why I was confused.
So explain just a little bit more for me. The city administrator, you said you can take that money allocated from any of the departments?
Be prorated, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can take a quarter from general streets, water, sewer. Or, you know, any way you wanna do it.
So if you want to, you wouldn't, you could do it out of general and do it from the rest. I'm just correct.
Well, I would not suggest that.
I know, I just-
That would look a little wonky to anybody asking, why are you lumping them all into just the enterprise fund and the street fund and not,
But you get a percentage from each.
there's a case to be made to do it.
Because it affects everything.
Correct.
This is my concern with the city administrator. Getting one that's, you know, a lot of them look really good on paper and they aren't what it's for.
To justify that expense, you have got to pinpoint the benefit of having one.
Well, they're educated for that job. I mean, I can speak English, but that don't mean I can teach it.
Well, that's true,
Right.
but you're talking about $154,000. What would that
We can get one
add
cheaper
to
than
this
that.
meeting right here? Would add anything for them. He would have put a budget together and said,
Why do
"Here's
you
what
think
we're
you
talking
should get one cheaper than that, Harold?
Well, if you go online and start comparing some of these other municipalities around, that cost is not even close. I mean, Hazelwood,
Well,
Hazelwood's $138,000 is what they pay their.
right, but that's probably just line number salary. That, they're not including, when they're putting those prices out for a job interview,
It's the same for a job interview, this is what they're paying, this is off their website.
Right.
That's what they're
no,
paying.
I understand, that's their salary.
That's
It's
their
not
salary,
includes
it's
all
not
they're not giving all that other information out. Right, if I apply for a job at the police department, it's their salaries, they're not telling me, well, additional to that is another 30,000 all the benefits you're getting. You're not seeing that.
Harold, I chose that step because it's a couple of steps higher than our highest paid employee. I don't think we can hire a city administrator that would make less than somebody who's supervising.
I agree with you on that. I'm just saying, but
That number would represent salary and benefits at that step.
And all that's negotiated. From my experience with there's been three city administrators, since I've been here, they negotiate things that the rest of us don't get.
And why didn't they work? Because I heard from
Jeff?
previous department heads
Tanya?
saying they're worthless, pretty much, is what maybe I don't know if I
Our
read that
last
wrong.
one was not that bad, he didn't get along very well with the mayor, he also was very indecisive. And he chose to go somewhere else. Yes, Bob Brown.
Oh,
The one before that was
Wow. You could write a book
not
on
a
that
great
guy.
person, he was something of a criminal.
Yeah.
but you don't know until you try. I might get a really good one. Probably all of it.
It's just quit.
Contracts, things that I've been,
I said it's just quit.
all that kind of stuff.
Wentzville administrators been on the job for 19 years and make $152,000.
That's not accurate, I don't think,
They went through 3 of them. This says right here, 19 years. Saying what's, the city of Arnold, 127,000, 10 years of administrative services.
yeah.
Wentzville's getting ready to build a 200-acre amusement park that's all ADA compliant. Every ride in there is gonna be accessible to handicapped people. So that's gonna bring more people to this area too. It's only a good.
I will say it is, so when you're looking at salaries, like you said, there are quite a few benefits negotiated outside of just salary that add to it. It is a huge responsibility level. As I stated, they are going to be over absolutely every department head. Every decision will go through them. They would likely be your point of contact. You wouldn't necessarily have a direct line to your department heads. All of that would funnel through them. So that's why they are paid accordingly, because their responsibility level is immense over PD, over administration, over public works. Even if you have an engineer, it is very over finance, a very intensive job. And I think those numbers, I'm sorry, I can't connect into my computer, but I don't think those numbers surely don't reflect everything.
Car, give them a car.
Yes, the last one had a vehicle allowance. Gosh, there are all kinds of things. For us at the city of Troy, their job description it's not a job description, they negotiate a contract. It's not like any other employee's situation here.
And that's an ordinance we have.
It's not, oh gosh, I'm sorry, I wish I could log in. It doesn't, it calls for a contract and agreement. It's not a job description that you would find amongst the other job descriptions that we have.
Who does that job now?
Mayor fills those duties.
And that's the next thing we're gonna get in trouble for. I'm not saying anything bad against the mayor or anything, but state statute says that you cannot be the mayor and acting city administrator. We're gonna get in trouble. It's coming. Tell me.
City of Troy does an ordinance on that.
We need,
This between.
yeah, we need to focus on the budget workshop that I'm running.
That's what we are.
Then
That's
we
why
need
we're
to
trying to
add
figure out how to
this in.
figure out how to add a city administrator.
Okay, let's not. Not legal.
I guess we're to the point where we should go down the list and say yea or nay.
The backhoe, you know, that full track backhoe, where we at right now, with what we have. What about the skid steer? Do we have one? If we can get another year out of it, we have one. Can we get another year out of it?
We can make it last. Well, we have. So we could get a lot more done if we had two. A lot of times,
Right.
I try to split up the crew. Some guys are doing concrete and you skid loader, break out, tear it out.
Right.
Yeah. Then you skid loader to do dirt work somewhere else. We've only got one. So,
The JVC telehandler. Do we have one?
yeah.
Can we stretch that one out? I mean, I see it's just on at least
Yes.
27,000. So this is on the road we already have, so we take scratch that, that's,
I mean, we give it back and not have one.
no, we gotta have one. I don't know, what those are, construction jobs too.
It's pretty important around the yard. That's our main salt loader during the winter.
Right.
And we dedicate that one machine, put it in salt, we don't put any of our other, like the skid loader, we don't put it in salt.
Right.
Because, well, you know what salt I do to that skid loader.
So are you saying we can hold off on the skid?
Well, his doesn't affect the general.
It really doesn't affect the general
That's
fund,
true.
but
You know, I mean, he's okay
I'm gonna get by with one.
when you look at the numbers.
Productivity would be higher if I had two.
Water's in the,
The lift stations. Why is there such a big difference on the lift stations on the price on these right here for Wingate, Crooked Creek, then?
Size of pumps. Is that what you're talking about? The
The
spares?
Yeah, the spares.
Yeah. Yeah, size of pumps.
We don't have any backups right now.
Not on those three. Yeah. Once these three are purchases, that includes a spare for each one.
How many tires a day are you changing out?
Our tire machine broke down, so I can't change any, we've also tried to repair it already.
We think, last year, well, we keep the tires and then we take them to tire shredders to dispose of them. I think we took, roughly 260 tires.
What they charge us on them?
$2 a piece.
Same thing, line number charges for. I was just trying to figure out if we,
Well, just for instance, while our machines broke down, we had 2 tires changed at Plaza. It cost us over $100.
And they charge $5 disposal fee per tire.
Yeah. Yeah, we charge them $5.
so it's went up too.
Yeah.
It's like everything.
So the tire changing machine in the shop's pretty good.
That's why I was asking, he's changing today.
Yeah. It varies day to day, but right a year's time, we'll do 200.
I might go all week with a flat tire, and then next month I got 3 of them.
Yeah,
Typically,
typically,
in the city, you know, third party.
Right.
Through us.
yeah, typically, everybody's tires in the city.
On this, the city administrator cost for fiscal year 2024 that you handed us, it just shows the total cost of that administration, it comes 100% out of the general fund. Would that, some come out of the general fund, part out of the streets, water, sewer?
It could be, I would just be guiding on how to collect that now.
So I guess the other question is, go back to the other thing, is there anything that we can hold off on till next year sometime to reevaluate? So, just take a real good look and see if there's any way we can push some of this stuff out.
We could amend the budget.
So it's no
It
matter.
has a budget, it
Yeah.
has a budget.
It would have been take them out now.
Take them out now and then, but yeah, that would be, I mean, that's, you gotta do something, I mean, just to come back and revisit this in January on some of the bigger items.
Unfortunately, most of the big ticket items are valid needs.
Like one of the things we always say.
Yes, I mean, if you look at it, it's like, providing for your city.
I brought this up last month, or we had the 20 grand I have for park cemetery vehicle. You know, Dave gets his and those trucks and says, get rid of them. I mean, I'll take any of them. But if those aren't approved, then I'm gonna need something.
You need a truck too,
Kind of bad for it.
for the cemetery.
How old's
No
that
pride,
truck drive?
stuff in your church.
I gave that to the cemetery. He's driving up.
But how old is that one, that Dodge?
It's a 11.
Your other truck's an '02?
Yeah, the 5
The Chevy Silverado? Use it one shot. The one you borrowed from the streets is pretty old too.
I think that's 2 or 4.
Yeah, I think it's a 4. Yeah, 4. You run that borrowed stuff now?
Which I don't have a problem with it, bro. I mean,
As long as the rest of us get stuff we can borrow too.
yeah.
Keep it going.
See, the dental, we can scratch that, and it's not going to use the rest.
What's that?
The dental laptop.
Is that 1,047?
That,
It's right.
Scratch that one.
you gotta cover, we need to cover that grid, because I think that's really important. I think whatever our funds we can get out here to do it.
Why wasn't that, added in when that brand new sewer plant was being built, that grid system?
We only had authority to borrow X number of dollars, 18.87 million was our borrowing limit at the time that the voters voted on it, and it wouldn't cover all the costs. So, it was actually removed prior to Woodard coming online and, looking at the process. So their design isn't included because it had already been removed because we were just under those budget constraints. If we can, I'd love to get a commitment from the board to put this remaining ARPA funds to that. And I think over, I'll let Jen speak to this, over the next 2 years following that, we can get enough money out of capital improvements to pay the balance and get the $5 million that we need to do that. That's kind of what Jen had looked at, put together for us, so.
Speak to the need or the why. You asked why it wasn't included, that the grit removal is not needed for regulatory compliance, but it is very important for protecting your downstream equipment. So you have millions of dollars of new mechanical equipment in the treatment plant, and with the grit coming in and passing through the fine screens at the beginning of the plant, it's putting undue wear on all of the mechanical equipment downstream of that. And so what that will result in is premature failure of that equipment and extensive repairs and replacement that'll be needed much sooner than if you were protecting that equipment. Some of that equipment can last 10, 20 years, but otherwise you might be faced with costly replacements much more frequently. I'm happy to
Well, I think we
say
should,
anything else.
I think we should definitely take the rest of the money, funds, and put it on there, we gotta protect that.
I agree. Totally.
the workshop, we just get consensuses and
We can have that ready for the 22nd, though.
The sewer line is a must too, that has to be done, because that cuts down on our infiltration. The very thing that causes us to need the grit removal, I mean, it doesn't take it all out, and then the manhole rehabilitation, that's a must too, because without manholes, we had more water coming out on you than was going down the pipe.
You're paying to treat those gallons.
Exactly, every gallon of infiltration water comes in, we're paying to treat it.
Line, sewer lines and manholes, it's definitely pay that difference.
I spent most of my career as a construction laborer in sewers and water, so I understand the need for all that. I've been on a lot of sewer plants too, especially down in the south, that failed because of this right here.
So how do you want to handle this moving forward? I mean, we've moved a few things around, department heads have removed a couple items. We're still gonna be up to $900,000 in the red. You want to put everything on the agenda for the 22nd, and vote individually, or we're gonna go down to the general fund items and see if there's a consensus on any of them? 16, let's see, 16, 13, 16, and 17 were moved to the current budget, but of course that'll reduce the fund balance going in, it's still a cost.
Was that 17 there? Is that two?
It was 13, 16, and 17, I believe is what you heard. Yeah.
Right.
So,
And 11, 18,
yes,
those are
but otherwise you're gonna have to, see if there's a consensus on any of the rest of it tonight, or put it all in, vote individually at the 22nd. To make a decision whether in or out.
It takes out about $6,050, those 4 items.
Jeff, sorry, just a question. What is the car parking and concession drive?
That's all the lots, that's what the park, that's overlay and striping, kind of like seal coat, striping for all the lots.
The concession drive, I was like, what's that?
But I don't know why you do that. But it's basically all the blacktop ends there. That's just stand.
Okay. I was just like, I'm there every day, and I didn't know there was an 8.
So we're scrapping 18, 19, 11.
Oh, we're scrapping 11.
Yes. 11 is ours, that was gone.
18's gone, right?
Who was 8?
That was mine, we can take it off.
I believe it's 11, 13, 16, 17, 18, and 19, is that correct?
Well, 19's already gone. But
Yeah.
So we're scrapping the apples,
Ron, can you say those again? I have 11, 13, 16, 17, 18, and 19.
That brings, that's 13,250.
So Chief, how long you been waiting on the ones you still have on for this, the cars? How long?
On the ARP money,
Just getting the vehicles, the new vehicles, yeah.
I'm still waiting for my 3 ARP cars from last year to get this year.
How long's that been?
No, I'm waiting for the pricing to come down. none of the dealers have their pricing yet. So as soon as that comes down, I'm gonna get a call from down around. Once they get their pricing, everybody else will get their pricing. Then I talk with the mayor, I put an ad in the paper for 10 days, and they be here for their opening, the bids, and I send them out to 3 different dealerships also throughout the state. And it's, gotta wait for all that now. But it's all ready, all I gotta do is change some dates and the whole thing's done, and I'll change the date, once I get the pricing. It's gonna be anywhere from
So,
46,000
yeah,
to
that's,
45,000.
so that's why I was thinking, I mean, I'm just trying to, I'm not, so, cause it's a general fund. Cause it's taken so long, is there any way,
That's
that's our, I'm not talking,
Right.
now I'm talking about
Budget.
the new cars, the budgeting cars. Can we take those and move those till the first of the year to revisit them?
An issue you might run into is the issue that I've experienced trying to get quotations on these trucks. There's a window, an ordering window. It's not even open right now. I can't get a solid quote on a truck at this point. Sometime July, August, there's gonna be a window opening, and then it's only open until all the build slots are filled, and then it's closed, and you can't order.
In most cities,
Might run into a problem in December, you won't be able to order it.
Jeff can experience it too. Most cities go year to year, they don't go first year, but they don't go in July. So in all, we're trying to get these orders done now. First time we've ever been able to do this because it's our money. But usually after we get our budget passed, the ordering's already done. Because it's gonna, once that price comes down, it's gonna go fast. And we always have a hard time, we have a hard time getting cars.
Well, we ran into that with those Durangos.
The Durangos are already, they canceled them.
Charges into the Durangos, and that's the reason why we went to the Tahoes. And under a lucky star, the Tahoes were actually cheaper than the Durangos. So that's why we're just waiting for the pricing.
Right, I mean, that's what happened to us with the ordering of them, then.
Yes,
prices
because they even gave us the VIN numbers for the vehicles that we were getting, and then we waited and waited and waited, we checked back in, and they said, oh, yeah, no, we don't actually have those, so you don't have any VIN numbers, you don't have anything after they gave them.
We ran into this, like, with the two plow trucks.
Two trucks, I have VIN numbers, congratulations, here they come, and they're all of a sudden, they're gone. Canceled.
Just to give you an, it's in writing, you can see it. Including the 3 budget cars I'm asking for. We're only asking for $60,179 more on our budget than we did last year. And I understand how it looks and what we're trying to do, what we're all trying to do tonight. But that's not much.
Most manufacturers have a build schedule.
Right.
And only certain amount of ones that they're gonna do, we can miss that window.
Yeah, we ran into that twice, once with
Yeah.
Work trying to get 2 trucks, and then Chief Taylor trying to get cars.
If you wait till after January so that then start getting them, you can't get them. Then you gotta wait for the next year model, the model will be the same over and now. You know, they don't make it easy.
It's a different world.
Kind of same thing with our equipment, you know, these skid steers, we allow so many of them to be built for municipality or state or federal use.
And you know, we put a lot of city miles on these, they're all city miles, harder on cars. You know, we got 15 patrol vehicles, out of 29 guys altogether, 15 patrol vehicles. So a lot of these cars, they do run a lot. They do. I drive, like I said, you guys all know I drive an old 2013 Ford, fine for me. When we got it, I knew I could make it last all the time. But you gotta have the equipment, you know.
I really like it when they come down my street with the new tiles and take down lights on. I'm serious, I do. 1 o'clock in the morning, light on both sides of the street, you can see everything, I'm like.
So do we wanna take this to the board, the meeting, or what are we doing?
You already start on the list, see anything that there's not a consensus on, it'll have to be voted on. Item one. General fund, $45,000 engineering services. Anybody have a thought?
It's a necessity with our MS4 programming, correct?
This goes directly towards staying in compliance with our reporting, generating the annual report, and then help with the logistical issues with the new mapping locating software that was just developed.
It's a necessity,
Yes.
correct? Yes, so it really can't go anywhere.
I'm on that committee for them as well, so. It's all DNR, this is like DNR.
No objections? Item two, not regular plan or planning and zoning ordinance.
Been out there and look at the tower, getting rusty. Put it all.
Okay, water line replacement, $665,000.
What,
What is that?
what's all involved in that? I know it's lead pipes that we're replacing, correct?
Well, no, actually, it's a water main, replacement along Lincoln Drive, and it's gonna go in Fair Court. We've got some old, we don't know what kind of line, some bad lines back there. A lot of it runs across private property where we don't have easements. And it makes it very difficult to make repairs to those types of situations. So that's, we wanna replace that, run along Lincoln Drive, extend that. We're going from a 2-inch pipe, and it's being fed by a 8-inch pipe. So we're gonna make it all uniform, hopefully, and improve the service and water quality, Fairport, and Old Capper Grade along with the drive.
Any objections? Item F, grit removal, wastewater treatment plant. $5 million over 3 years.
We're gonna put the ARPA towards that, and then the balance will be done over the 3 years.
Yes. It'll be a 3-year project. I think we thought about $1 million the first year and then probably $2 million over the next 2 years. Depending on how things get done.
Make sure that it's in that 20.
We'll get the commitment, we think we can get the first $2 million spent.
So we use the ARPA, remaining ARPA, then move on.
We'll get capital improvements to the balance.
Speaking of capital improvements, we did here, I know I put sewer, because they are sewer projects, but I don't think sewer. And I was assuming capital.
Okay, so no pushback on that, at the end. Item G, sewer lining, all these say sewer on them. We can use capital improvements for that. Right now, we're at $1,066,000.
With the things that we approved on this page. What I'm doing about this page, that's gonna be diminished some. I would want it to get dangerous. Because bond governance that we have to keep up. Those are not.
So how about these items, if no one, we'll go down the list and see what the thoughts are, but it'll either be sewer, capital improvements, or a combination of the two. And we'll have to look at where both funds are and how we balance that out, if the board's okay with that, we'll show you how that works out. Any disagreement on sewer lining?
No, that has to be done.
Item H, SCADA and site installation, Wingate and Whitetail, $200,000.
What's that?
That is the emergency call out. So SCADA gives the capability to, from a laptop, be able to turn on and off pumps when an alarm goes out. So Wingate and Whitetail are both like mission critical you've got a half hour before it starts coming back to homes. So, doesn't matter if you live in the neighborhood, when the call comes out, you've got about 30 minutes to get over it before there's issues. So, with the SCADA, the guy can pop up a laptop, turn on phone, move stuff, change. It's a huge upgrade, but I mean, you know, if we don't put it in, that's just the
Protecting our citizens.
that protection we lose until we get afforded. But I mean, that's, you know, eventually it would be nice to get about 4 or 5 of these done, but this takes care of the two top, I won't say troublemakers, but where the real issues lie.
So the remaining of these, Mayor, could all be, you could look at both all the sewer and capital. Okay.
Any objections on the SCADA? Item I, Southeast Plant Headworks Building upgrade reuse, $130,000.
So this we've kicked down the road for the last couple of years. It's the, out at the Southeast plant, the big headworks building. It's got so much equipment and concrete, rebar inside of it. This was to take all that out and make it a shop where we could bring all the vehicles inside. Here's the deal, we can kick it down the road again. So this is not something to make or break their compliance, so. I'm cool with scratching it, but that's up to you. I mean,
It's up to the board, but I'd like to look at that, maybe hold it out until we see how everything else shakes out.
Yeah, that works for me.
We'll sign these between capital improvements and sewer, trying to keep them both in pretty good shape, and then hold it up. Okay. So we'll just put a pause on that. Okay, Eastbrook lift station rehab, $80,000. I'm sorry.
Unless I forgot, it might be, it says Easter.
It's
I don't know.
Eastbrook, yes.
Should be Eastbrook.
Oh, Eastbrook, okay, so,
Right across from the high school.
it's falling in around as Eastbrook, out by the high school, so we've been trying to get this done for the last, this is our second year, but, it's in horrible shape. I mean, your pumps are held up by zip ties inside the hole, and the walls are crumbling in around it, so we had a company come out and rehab the whole thing, and new pumps, that's everything, that's your bypass work, everything. So when they're done, it'll be a new lift station, so.
For $80,000.
That's pretty cheap to have a lift station rehab, yeah.
That's what I think.
No objections?
No.
Item K, demolition of 47 lab building, $57,400.
So this is a kind of a have to, we're on a 2-year limit. When the old building closed down, we had 2 years to shut down that out there, so we split it over 2 years. Last year, we tore down the other building, this year we'll tear down this one. The state will come in this summer, and, they'll make a checklist for us, go over everything, but I would like to have that building underground before they show up. That was the old lab, and it's full of So I would like to get it tore
I
down.
didn't understand what you said.
So, but they'll be in this year. This is our 2-year mark to decommission that one side.
Keep that one in there.
Yeah.
Okay, item L, manhole rehabilitation, $22,000. Any objections, we'll leave that in? What about sewer or capital improvement?
Gotta have that too.
Okay, that leaves the one-step increase, although this is already approved. Well, that's again.
I think we need to just keep it at the 4 scale.
I agree. Or
I think if we don't do the 2.5% cost of living raise, we're just gonna start back where we were.
We can put that on the agenda for the 22nd, have a public vote, if we're not in agreement. Is there a consensus one way or the other? Looks like not.
I think we should do that.
Okay, I'm not getting anything too much, I guess we'll put it on the agenda and have a public vote. Okay, city administrator.
I would be opposed to that.
I think if you take 150,000 divided by about 15,000 citizens, it's $10 a citizen, that's pretty reasonable.
raise their taxes to do that?
I'm sorry, to give them someone who has been educated and trained to manage a city and do those things? Absolutely.
It can be paid out of 4 departments too, not just one. So you take whatever that.
You still don't see the benefit of spending that money regardless of what town comes out.
Every town around us, or south of us, I should say, is thriving and growing and planning for their future, and they all have city administrators. We're here.
If we don't have a consensus with currently, no, we'll put it on the agenda for the 27th.
If we broke it between the 4 departments, it's $38,396 per department.
So we're gonna be a little over $1 million short if all that goes through the way we got it planned. Okay, well, that's covered everything that was on the list. Does anybody have something else they want to? I'm gonna call the workshop adjourned